class treason?
Class treason is what happens when someone from a privileged class recognizes that it's unfair or immoral for them to keep benefiting from the unjust system that produces that privilege. The only morally justifiable response to this realization is to work towards dismantling that system. For example, young SNCC workers during the American Civil Rights Movement, or men actively fighting against sexism and patriarchy, or members of the ruling classes joining the peasant class in their fight against oppression, or Americans refusing to fight Vietnamese people during the Vietnam War, or first worlders who fight their own government's policies of violence and exploitation of third worlders. Israeli soldiers who refuse to participate in state violence against Palestinians, or families of people killed on 9/11 denouncing the US government for their invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq.
I got it.
A lot of people only see class treason as a form of political suicide or some kind of weird manifestation of self-loathing, white guilt, etc. But actually, class treason has nothing to do with confusion or self-denial at all. Class treason has everything to do with realizing that fighting for fairness and justice for others is also good for the class traitor herself. Because class treason requires critical awareness and political clarity and the strength to constantly put your analysis into lived reality. But most importantly, class treason requires compassion.
But don't we already have lots of people who think that sexism and racism is bad? I mean, don't we already have a ton of people who think the US shouldn't be engaging in colonial wars?
Yes.
If class treason is so important, then how come we still have all this negative stuff going on?
Class treason is when people actually do something to change social reality. It's never about just sympathizing with so-and-so, thinking or saying the right things. Most well-intentioned people do nearly nothing to live their so-called convictions, so I'm not even talking about those people. Let's make it simple. If you are first worlder, if you are male, if you are heterosexual, if you are a professional, whatever that means, even if you just live in America and you have a roof over your head, you are a beneficiary in a system that's been organized and maintained according to the logic of class and class-affiliated privilege. So we're not talking about anecdotal good luck stories or success narratives about hardworking individuals. We're talking about structure. And in this structure, if you're not actively working to dismantle these systems, at the very least, you're helping to maintain the status quo. There's no neutral territory here.
Do you think we can create a more egalitarian world without lots of people committing class treason?
No.
What about capitalism?
Capitalism is incompatible with justice and compassion.
How about progressive teachers? You like them, right? What if we just stock our schools and universities with more progressive teachers?
Sanctioning institutions don't work like that. Schools allow a certain amount of critique of hegemony, especially if they think it won't lead to threatening, destabilizing action by the masses.
Are you saying we should get rid of schools?
I'm saying we need alternatives to schools.
But a lot of our friends work in schools. Aren't they doing important work?
Yeah. Obviously, there's always going to be a certain amount of socially progressive work produced even in elite ruling class institutions. I'm not contesting that. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. On one hand, the system benefits from the symbolic presence of work that positions itself as critical of the establishment. The main reason for this is so that it can present itself as politically neutral and ideologically balanced. Meanwhile, the so-called progressive and radical academics that produce this work get to enjoy a range of benefits that typically comes with affiliation with elite institutions. And all they have to do to keep enjoying these privileges is to limit their political maneuvering to anything that doesn't directly threaten to destabilize the fundamental organizational logic of the university or society itself. So, okay, that's the choice they've made. But let's ask a different question. Is there a reason why counter-hegemonic intellectual work can't be done outside the university? Is there some kind of law of physics or mysterious hidden power that makes serious intellectual activity only possible on a university campus? No, of course not. The constraints are primarily economic, cultural, I would even say emotional. So why do you think progressive educators have been so reluctant to create alternative institutional structures to support their supposedly transformative work? Is it simply a lack of imagination? Or is it just a matter of them wanting to eat the cake they've been served? These people don't want revolution. They're as afraid of change as anybody from the right wing. And they'll be satisfied with small incremental reform as long as they're able to keep their status as the intellectual vanguard of social justice.